The past holds secrets, and we're here to uncover them. Stay with us as we explore the largest and oldest burial ground in ancient Egypt. In January 2021, Saqqara revealed another incredible archaeological treasure. The media reported major discoveries made by an Egyptian team led by the famous archaeologist Dr. Zahi Hawass. They uncovered over 50 burial shafts, a 3,000-year-old sarcophagus, and human mummies, all revealed to the world. Oh my God. Another sarcophagus, and it's right next to the first pyramid ever built. A real archaeological treasure is waiting for us. It's unbelievable. We must be about 15 meters underground. With Dr. Hawass's help, we followed this expedition deep into the heart of ancient Egypt. But something's odd. There's no name. Why wasn't a name found? Together with a team of archaeologists, we're going to find out what these newly discovered remains are telling us. From mummy bones to stunning sarcophagus nests, some as beautiful as King Tutankhamun's. There's something strange. Could she have been a queen? Who was the mysterious queen the team just uncovered? What stories will these newly found tombs reveal during this one-of-a-kind exploration? Behind every mummy lies an extraordinary story, and this mission is trying to decode it. When we opened the sarcophagus, the mummy was completely decomposed, like something straight out of a movie. How did the ancient Egyptians hide their sarcophagi so well? Now, thousands of years later, we dive deep into the excavation site to bring you the discoveries that have captivated the entire world. Next to the mysterious Pyramid of Pharaoh Teti, this kind of discovery is a huge moment for any archaeologist. Here, dozens of meters underground, we found one of the last treasures of pharaonic Egypt. It's February 2021, and it's been 17 weeks since the mission began, led by Egyptologist Dr. Zahi Hawass near Cairo, Egypt. In the Saqqara necropolis, the Egyptian scientific team is searching for hidden tombs buried deep within the site. At the base of Pharaoh Teti's pyramid lie dozens of sarcophagi and mummies, burials over 1,000 years old, dating back to the New Kingdom and even the late period. Teti, a little-known pharaoh, fascinated the ancient Egyptians. During the New Kingdom, the area around his pyramid was one of the most heavily used sites in all of Saqqara. Teti ruled during the 6th dynasty, around 3,000 years before Christ, and had an incredible aura of importance. The site itself is astonishingly rich. Since October 2020, excavations have revealed at least 52 burial shafts, as well as mummies and other treasures that have made headlines worldwide. But chances are, we still haven't found everything. The many pyramids here attracted ancient Egyptians more than any other place. They believed certain places held spiritual power, so, if a pharaoh built his pyramid somewhere, others wanted to be buried nearby to benefit from its blessings. The archaeological team now has just 2 months left before finishing the dig. They're hoping to uncover the rest of a tomb found 3 weeks ago near the base of Teti's pyramid. There, workers discovered the remains of a cavity with wooden beams supporting the ceiling after several collapses. The structure had to be reinforced, and Dr. Hawass had a strong gut feeling that the shaft held more surprises. So he threw the full strength of the mission into exploring it. He assembled 50 workers to clear it out as quickly as possible. They dug 7 hours a day, removing up to 6 tons of debris, about the weight of 5 cars. Now the shaft is empty, and the researchers just identified something completely unlike anything they'd seen before. With the help of a simple pulley and a wicker basket, Dr. Hawass descended 15 meters to reach what could be a major archaeological find. It's truly extraordinary. For the first time ever, a sarcophagus has been found in a shaft. A massive limestone one weighing 40 tons. This tomb hasn't seen daylight in over 3,000 years. But whose tomb is it? To Egyptologists, a sarcophagus is made of stone, while coffins are made of wood. Up to this point, the team had only found wooden coffins. Stone sarcophagi are rare because only the most important people in the state could afford them. This tomb dates back to the New Kingdom. The exploration begins 20 meters below the surface. It's an incredible moment in the life of an archaeologist, the kind of moment they wait years for, opening a tomb sealed for 3,000 years and finally discovering what's inside. The team realizes that the lid of the sarcophagus is about to reveal something potentially historic. There was an opening, and the stone slab had shifted about half a meter. Could another explorer have gotten there before Zahi Hawass? Or worse, a tomb robber? As the workers dug and cleaned around the sarcophagus, Zahi's suspicions grew stronger. "I hope the mummy is still inside and in good condition," he said. "That way we can figure out who this person was. They were clearly important and wealthy." There was still some hope, though. Tomb robbers weren't usually after the mummies themselves. They wanted the golden amulets buried with them. It was delicate work for the team. The lid was incredibly heavy, more than 12 tons, and they had to lift it by hand. "Do you want to do it the way the looters did and push it this way?" "I think we should use a crane," someone suggested. Eventually they came up with a solution, but they needed to bring in extra materials. It was the only way to safely lift the lid. It was easier than trying to shove it to the side, so they decided to lift it and see what was inside. It was a heavy and very complicated operation, but in the end it turned out to be surprisingly simple. They used a crane to lift the sarcophagus lid, placing wooden planks underneath to avoid damaging the tomb. 15 meters underground, the tension was intense. The team gave it their all, trying to open a hole and reveal the secrets within this sarcophagus. A few minutes later, they finally lifted the lid. Disappointment swept through the team. The mummy was gone. But maybe, just maybe, the looters had left some clues behind. "Let's go," said one of the scientists. "I'm collecting the bones of someone who was buried here 3,000 years ago. A big piece of the sarcophagus, too. If you close your eyes, you can almost feel the 3,000 years of history." The mummy had been shattered into pieces, and everything inside the sarcophagus had been stolen. Dr. Hawass didn't hide his disappointment. "This is the most important discovery of the expedition so far," he said, "but it's going to be tough to find any clues about who this tomb belonged to. The looters left nothing behind. How did the robbers even get down into this shaft? How did they break into the tomb, loot the sarcophagus, and take the mummy? How could they have robbed a 40-ton sarcophagus when it took the team so long to lift the lid using modern tools?" The team had to focus now on finding solid, trustworthy clues. One detail caught the archaeologist's eye, something that might have attracted the robbers. The sarcophagus was carved from a special kind of stone limestone from Tura, not far from the site. It was the same quarry the pharaohs had used since the Old Kingdom to build their pyramids, especially those at Giza. How could someone transport a massive 40-ton sarcophagus from Tura, 40 kilometers away, to this site? The person buried here had to be rich and powerful. Maybe a high priest, a vizier, or an elite government official during the New Kingdom. The strangest part? The neighboring tomb shafts were untouched. So why was this one looted? Because it was clearly the most valuable. This tomb might have belonged to a vizier, someone high up in the Egyptian government, or a priest. Tombs of the wealthiest ancient Egyptians, like those in Luxor, were filled with gold and funerary goods worth a fortune. These treasures were irresistible to the poor. Researchers believe the tomb was raided shortly after burial, and the identity of the thieves may be unexpected. There's a strong chance the same workers who built and decorated the tomb came back soon after it was completed to rob it. So, in all likelihood, the very builders of the tomb were also its looters. The team will keep examining the sarcophagus, looking for any inscriptions that might identify the owner. But for Dr. Hawass, one thing is clear: the person buried here must have been extremely important to have been laid to rest at the foot of Pharaoh Teti's pyramid. Teti I is one of the most mysterious pharaohs of the Old Kingdom. He ruled over 4,000 years ago and founded the 6th dynasty. Very little is known about him. Today, his pyramid looks more like a pile of rubble. Despite being considered a minor pharaoh, his legacy continued to draw people even into late ancient Egypt. Being buried near the tombs of the early dynastic kings was a sign of honor and privilege. It meant your tomb was placed in one of the holiest places in all of Egypt. Being close to a powerful pharaoh symbolized stability and spiritual closeness, and the dead hoped to rest near that energy, just as those buried near Teti did. And they managed all this with the tools and methods available at the time. Now archaeologists are also trying to understand how people back then could transport such massive tombs into these deep shafts using only primitive techniques. Today, Dr. Essam, the excavation director at Saqqara, continues leading the effort to uncover more secrets from the past. There's a mystery here. Most of the sarcophagi found so far were made of wood, so they were fairly lightweight. But the one the team just discovered is made of stone, weighs 40 tons, and is about 4 meters long. This tomb is massive. Dr. Essam insisted on returning to the shaft to try to solve the mystery. One of the workers immediately pointed something out to him. Dr. Masur took a look. "There's a hole here. The rock fell in," he said. "That means there's nothing underneath the sarcophagus. When I got here today, I noticed the sarcophagus wasn't sitting flat on the ground. There's a gap underneath it. We don't know why." The hole Dr. Essam identified raises a lot of questions. What was the purpose of this hollow space? Could it help us understand how the ancient Egyptians built such enormous tombs? It's a total mystery. How did they manage to place this massive sarcophagus in the burial chamber? Essam offered a theory. What if they dug two shafts and connected them from below? They could have filled one with sand, placed the sarcophagus on top, then let the sand flow through the tunnel between the shafts. That way, the sarcophagus would gently lower into place using a clever system, kind of like communicating vessels. Somehow, the ancient Egyptians managed to lower a 40-ton sarcophagus down 15 meters underground. Now the archaeology team only has 6 weeks left before the mission ends. As the workers keep digging to uncover the last secrets of the Saqqara tomb, they stumble upon something completely unexpected: 4,000-year-old remains of a queen connected to Pharaoh Teti, whose pyramid had already been excavated. To understand the story, we have to go back 10 years. Next to the current excavation site are the remains of a pyramid discovered by Dr. Zahi Hawass himself. "I never imagined I'd one day discover a pyramid," he said, "and this one has an incredible history." In 2010, buried under a mound of sand, Egyptologists uncovered this 25-meter-tall, 5-meter-wide pyramid. Inside it was a beautifully sealed sarcophagus, its lid weighing 6 tons. "I'll never forget the moment my team and I lifted the lid," said Dr. Hawass. "Inside we found human remains and some gold, but not many other clues about who the tomb belonged to. To the Egyptologists, it was likely the mother of Pharaoh Teti, the first queen of his life. Teti had only 3 known women in his life: Ruet and his mother. At first, Hawass explained, I thought the pyramid belonged to his mother. But today's mission may point to a different possibility." AFAF, an archaeologist and bone specialist, and the only one on site who can really make bones speak, had a breakthrough. The Queen's file had been closed for quite a while, but this expedition gave Dr. AFAF the chance to carefully examine every bone found on site, including those inside the Queen's sarcophagus. That's when she uncovered a completely new story. 2 days ago, she came to me with a document, said Hawass. She told me she'd analyzed the Queen's bones. I asked her, "Dr. AFAF, what did you find?" She replied, "The Queen was between 17 and 25 years old. So, she couldn't have been Teti's mother. This opens up the possibility that Teti had another queen, one we didn't know about. The 2010 pyramid couldn't have belonged to the Queen Mother after all. This discovery is so significant, it may actually rewrite history. Thanks to the bone analysis, we now believe the pyramid belonged to one of Teti's wives, a young woman between 18 and 25 years old. Dr. AFAF even discovered possible clues about how she died, using just a few bones brought to her by Dr. Zahi. She worked meticulously, and eventually reached some intriguing, even eerie conclusions. There was something odd about her remains. On her forehead was evidence of necrosis, likely caused by a blow or a fall. Now, 4,000 years after her death, the Queen's bones raise questions about whether her death may have been violent. Following this breakthrough, Dr. Hawass wanted to speed up the excavation of the temple around the Queen's pyramid. There could be more evidence buried nearby. 50 workers gave it everything they had, and just a few days later, the team called Dr. Hawass early in the morning. They'd found a key piece of the Queen's mysterious puzzle. "We just made an incredible discovery," they said. "We found the obelisk that once stood beside the Queen's pyramid. It's small, but it's intact. The pyramid's tip, originally covered in gold, was meant to catch the rays of the sun god Ra. It was honestly a stunning find." Dr. Hawass believes this obelisk, located at the base of the Queen's pyramid, once belonged to her, and it could be just the beginning of even more groundbreaking discoveries. A puzzling clue catches the team's attention. Nearly unreadable inscriptions on one side of the obelisk. They still don't fully understand what they mean, but they believe these markings might hold the key to a mystery that's kept Egyptologists on edge for years. "The inscriptions aren't very clear," one team member says, "but we'll trace them properly to try and solve the puzzle." While they wait for a specialist to arrive and analyze the newly discovered obelisk, the team continues their investigation in the shafts opened by the archaeologists. They expect to find mummies in the coffins, But instead, they uncover a massive surprise that had been hidden for thousands of years. A mob wants to show us a shaft, about 12 meters deep, that was discovered just a few months ago. Its treasures were revealed to the world in January of 2021. It's also located near Pharaoh Teti's pyramid, and contains multiple niches with unique coffins. The team carefully cleaned the entire area, and found artifacts that can teach us more about ancient Egyptian funeral rituals. All around us, in this narrow space, are dozens of wooden coffins shaped like human figures, meant to resemble the faces of the deceased. Then they discovered a wall blocking the burial chamber. Behind it, even more anthropoid coffins. For any archaeologist, finding something buried for thousands of years is a landmark moment. The team decided to open one of the coffins inside a niche. It looked different from the others, which sparked the team's curiosity. "It's a man's coffin," someone noted. "We can tell by the sideburns carved on it and the beautiful decorations." Isis is shown protecting the deceased, but Anubis, the god of tombs, is also watching over this woman's grave. They believe it dates back to the New Kingdom. "What do you think, Dr. Essam?" "Yes, definitely New Kingdom," he confirmed. "All right, let's try opening it." "Careful, doctor." "Oh my god, another coffin! This is amazing, it's something you don't see every day." For the first time, the team had discovered a double coffin, like Russian nesting dolls, one inside the other. The outer coffin was in excellent condition. The archaeologists now had a great chance of finding the mummy intact inside, and sure enough, it was in perfect shape. Oh my god, look, there it is. Anubis, the god of mummification, was represented on the lid. On the other side were Nephthys and Isis. Both goddesses had to be present to oversee the embalming process. Finding a coffin like this is incredibly rare. Whoever this woman was, she must have been extremely wealthy to afford a coffin designed to protect another one inside. To the ancient Egyptians, the coffin was the deceased's boat to the afterlife. It protected the mummy and accompanied them on their long journey to eternal life. Only the elite could afford multiple nested coffins like this. The more protective layers, the better. And the more gods represented on the coffin, Osiris, Isis, Horus, the more protection the deceased had to overcome the trials of the afterlife. For example, Pharaoh Tutankhamun was buried inside a set of 3 coffins, one inside the other. The team was finally ready to open this one. Let's do it. And what they found was stunning. The coffin was delicate and needed to be handled very carefully. Gently, gently. Okay, we're good. And then came another huge moment. Inside was a mummy that looked like it came straight out of an adventure film. The mummification had been done exceptionally well. The body was almost perfectly preserved after 3,000 years sealed inside. We've freed her from her double coffin. But then came the big question. Why is the mummy black? As with all the mummies discovered during this mission, the body appeared dark, almost pitch black. Yet we know that the linen wrappings used in ancient Egyptian mummification were originally white. So why the black? The answer lies in black resin, a material used in the embalming process. When it mixed with organic substances during mummification, the linen wrappings absorbed the resin and darkened over time. This incredible mummy will be sent to a museum in Cairo along with other exceptional pieces uncovered during the mission. Behind-the-scenes treasures and storage. A few days later, we got exclusive access to the archaeological storage vault, a real treasure chamber. Inside, priceless artifacts are kept safe and studied. This is where the sarcophagi lifted from the shafts are stored, and now, the moment every Egyptologist lives for, uncovering what's inside the mummies, some of which contain inscriptions that fascinate even Zahi Hawass himself. He set aside one coffin for closer analysis, believing it could reveal more about the magical spells of the ancient Egyptians. The team carefully removed it for further study. Dr. Mesa Qasim, an expert in reading hieroglyphics, analyzed it. She could read the name right away. "Yes, here it is, Karis Ho Nesut," she said, but something on the lid caught her eye. Something puzzling. She believed the coffin might contain another coffin inside it, and wanted to confirm everything was working properly before continuing the analysis. He decides to open it, and it's incredible. Once again, Dr. Mesa's suspicions are confirmed. The team has uncovered another group of sarcophagi. "I think this is one of the most beautiful coffins we've ever found," someone says. And they're right. It really is the most stunning one among the 50 discovered so far. The team carefully places the sarcophagus on a set of stands. Based on the decorations, it appears to date back to the late period, roughly 600 years before our time. Like many of the coffins found during this mission, it belonged to a woman. Every detail of it was meticulously crafted to protect the deceased. Here we see Anubis guarding the tomb and the shaft where this woman was buried. Her face is painted a vibrant green, a color that symbolized eternal life after death. That alone shows she must have been wealthy, yet, curiously, the name of her husband isn't listed, only the names of her parents are present. This discovery tells a moving story, the story of a young woman who died too soon and whose father, clearly an important figure during the late period, buried her in a grand and elaborate ceremony. Dr. Hawass is impressed by how well preserved the sarcophagus is, but for now, it can't be opened. The mission's conservator is trying to figure out how to separate the two parts of the coffin without causing damage. When we started lifting the lid, we realized it was sealed shut, so we need to avoid breaking anything. The sarcophagus is sealed with gypsum stone, which has the same composition as the sarcophagus itself. This material was used to bind the two halves together. The team will need to reinforce it before they can safely open it. If there's a mummy inside, the protective spells engraved on the outside will tell us more. The team is lucky. In many cases, all that's left is bones, as with another sarcophagus recently uncovered. Still, those remains are incredibly valuable for revealing the mysteries of the deceased. It's like a crime scene investigation, and inside a private tent away from curious eyes, Dr. Afanesh shows us the bones that Esam gave her. They belong to an important man from the New Kingdom era. Just like a forensic doctor working for the police, she studies the evidence. What are these bones telling us? Using measurements and comparisons, the researcher inspects every detail to piece together the puzzle of this person's identity. Who was the wealthy owner of this coffin? Do the Egyptologists want to know more? Good morning, Dr. AF. Good morning. Any news? Yes, let me explain. As you can see, the skeleton is incomplete, but we can still make a few conclusions. His joints suggest that he was healthy and didn't do hard physical labor, but was in good shape overall. How old was he when he died? Well, based on the condition of his teeth, which show very little wear, he was young, not an old man. And if he was healthy, then why did he die so young? For example, there's a healed fracture in his left shin. See this part of the ankle bone? That fracture led to an infection that spread through the long bones in his body. So the infection caused his death? Exactly. After 3,000 years, we now know that this man, buried in a lavish 40-ton sarcophagus and central to the mission's discoveries, died from an infection. Weeks later, Dr. AFF informed us that the young man also suffered from a hereditary illness. In the final days of his life, excavation work intensified around the Queen's Temple, and the team discovered hieroglyphs on an obelisk that could rewrite history. This engraved stone held the answer to the mystery of the unknown queen. Bone analysis revealed she wasn't Teti's mother, as Zahi Hawass initially believed, but his wife. An Egyptologist noticed a barely legible inscription on the obelisk and brought in a specialist to decode the markings. Nowadays, tracing paper isn't used anymore. Archaeological drawings have gone digital. High-resolution photos are taken from every angle of the obelisk, especially when inscriptions are hard to read. This digital technology